Alrighty, y'all. Today we're going to be putting this loader back together, hopefully. I got the front idler in today, and I'm putting the rear idler in. Let's take this thing off. It's got 2 bolts on each side, and you just pull these bolts out, and that's it. That's all you got to do. And then you pop the new one in through the grooves, just like so. And you stick the bolts back in and tighten it down. That's all there is to replacing it. I'm going to show y'all something in a minute that I noticed. I don't know if I can do it or not. Well, I guess I can't show you. The other one and this one I noticed, of course, this one on the back, the wheel on it was so shot and worn out. The metal was that it wasn't worth rebuilding or attempting to rebuild it. The front one, I got the new one in, and the front wheel looks to be in excellent shape. As far as the steel goes, the bearings are just shot, and you can take these things apart. And I've got a bearing place here nearby that carries just about every kind of bearing you can think of. And if I can get that thing apart, I'm thinking about just trying to rebuild that front one that goes up there, and have me a spare, or if that other side needs one, putting it back on. As y'all can see, this one here is plumb gone, and then the wheel is rusted so bad. But you know, you never even knew that thing was like that when you was running it, other than here lately it started squealing. But I mean, it didn't feel nothing or anything. That's strange. But I think we got all the good we can out of that one. But we're going to put everything back together and try to get this track back on. That's what I've always noticed when I've watched other people put tracks on. It wasn't getting them off. It was tough. It was putting them back on. So we're going to go through that ride, but I'm going to show y'all how to put that front one on idler on after I get these tightened up. So let me tighten these up and get everything squared away here. It's pretty simple, straightforward stuff, and then we'll get into the other part. We're in here. I got this tensioner back up in here. It just slides right back up in there, like you said, like I showed y'all before. Now, let me get y'all positioned where y'all can see something here. Where the dimple was at was right here. This here recesses back up in there into a slot, and it should never come back this way. But even if it did, some were concerned about this dimple maybe not allowing this thing to float like it needed to. But as y'all can see, it moves around freely. This thing has an inch and a half, close to 2 inches before it even gets to that dimple. It should never, these plates should never come down that far. The track would have to be as loose as it could possibly be, and in order for this thing to even fall, to come this way. And I don't even know then if it could come this way that far, because the only part of the way this thing works is it pushes the idler back this way, and it forces this whole tensioner back into its slot. So the only way it could ever come back this way is if it was fully released and didn't have any pressure on it, which it should never have that. If it got that bad, we need to stop, and we need to tighten those tracks, because they would literally be falling off at that point nearly. And I never run this thing with it that loose. I constantly try to keep it tight, even when it was leaking. It would have to be all the way in, is what I'm saying, in order for it to do that, and it's never been that loose. So even if it does, it doesn't. Even if it did, it don't matter, because I got the dimple out. It's not there anymore. So that's not an issue. And then that whole thing floats in there. Someone's saying that it moving around, it would be hard on it. Well, I can't do anything about that. That's New Holland's design on this thing and the way it works. And you have to be able to access it to get it out. There's no way to bolt it in there in order to work on it. So that, I don't know what to do about that. There's not really anything you can do about it and still be able to get it out. And even if you tapped it, drilled holes in it, tapped it, and bolted it in there, I don't know how that would work out, because the way this idler is designed, it's meant to float around in this little cup. The end of the cylinder is, and I don't know how well that would work, because this whole thing moves around if it's loose. So I really don't know. I ain't modifying the thing. I'm not gonna modify the thing or anything like that. I'm just gonna put it back together like it is. If it becomes that problematic, the thing will leave. That's just the way I'll leave that. So let's stick this front idler back in there, and we're gonna get that part done. Yeah. Yeah. back on. Um, Now, I've seen a lot of people take the pry bars and spin the sprocket and then have it pop on there that way, which would I don't know if it'd be any easier than doing it off the front idler, but that was my only option, was to try to do it off the front idler because I don't have any help. I'm by myself, so I couldn't spin the sprocket and pry it on at the same time, because I would have to be in the cab. So that was my only choice, was to do it by the front idler. It's definitely harder to get back on than it is taking it off. But let me set y'all up here. We're gonna tension these tracks up and see if it'll work. All work. Hopefully it will. I don't know how much grease it's going to take because it's completely empty. I may have to put a couple tubes in it to get it pumped back up. She's starting to move. About out of grease. Now, I was always told the closest idler should be 1 inch, or carriage, which we're nearly there. A little bit more. There we are. That's 1 inch. So that's where it's supposed to be, from what I've been told by several different people that works on these things all the time, and the way these tracks are supposed to be tensioned. So the tensioner's in there and it's working. I don't know how long it'll last. I don't know if it'll last long at all. That's the only time will tell with that. We'll just have to run it and see what it does. But it did pump up, and it is holding. It's not leaking back down or nothing. So at least it don't appear to be. So let's get this. I'm gonna throw this plate back on. We're gonna go take her for a spin.